He says about human beauty.
Yeah. Go. What does he say?
This is a handsome man or a beautiful woman in the end wind up ugly old donkeys.
And we are.
From angel to eyesore in a few years. In human beings, beauty is only borrowed. Bit by bit, God recalls the loan.
Yes.
I've fallen in love with beauty itself. I've quit falling in love with skin and bone.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That's Rumi.
You know what Baba would do when the boys would look at a pretty woman coming to take his darshan, and Baba would say, "What are you thinking?" And then didn't he say to them that, "Oh, you know, you're just seeing that outer beauty, and you know, she's going to be old and ugly in a few years, and then you won't care, but you have to see me in that beauty, find my beauty in that beauty."
Yeah, he caught
something
Eric
like that.
one time. He caught Eric one time. Well, a beautiful woman was brought into Mandalay Hall. I mean, a young woman, but she was so beautiful. And Eric had a thought, and Baba stopped her and then asked Eric what he was thinking. You know, and that's when he went on to say, but, you know, I think he said, you know, after many, many years, she'll be bent over and she'll be like what Rumi described. Sometime, back in the early years, in the 20s, Baba would be giving darshan, and Mandali would be there, and you know, sometimes it would be some beautiful, you know, lovely looking woman would come and bow down, and at one point, Baba would say, "Okay, Adi, what are you thinking?" Thinking of you, Baba. And afterwards, you know, Baba took him aside and said, "Now, you know, you weren't honest with me, you know." But then Adi said, "Well, just don't ask me the question like that." And what Baba did is he described. Do you think I don't know everything? Baba described a scene from his childhood before they even knew of Baba, when he and Sarosh, his cousin, got on a fight. A kind of a fight out on the cricket field. You know, I mean, a particular scene where I think Sarosh kind of hit a high move or something on him. You're not supposed to do that, but something like a very specific incident that happened that there's no way Baba could have known if he was just, you know, accept that he was God. But they were kind of shocked that Bob was able to just pick out some minor incident from their childhood out on a field where no one except the two of them really noticed. And Baba, you know, described it. So, you know, you think you don't know what I'm thinking. You think I don't know what you're thinking. But yeah, Adi said, well, just don't ask us that at that time.
Yeah, I thought Bob had some answer. He would say nothing, Baba.
Yeah, nothing, Baba.
Look at this cat. She's right on the camera.
There she is.
Oh,
sweetheart.
Wow.
Mary, come here. There's a kitty here. Beautiful kitty. Oh, I really
so
love that
cute.
rendering.
Look at that over here. They're both beautiful.
He loves artis. He always comes during arti, and
He knows good energy.
Alan, I like your Baba's picture. It looked like you, literally. And the picture you had of Baba. I mean, it's all, initially I thought it's actually Alan there.
Oh, you mean this one?
Yeah, yeah, that one. Very close.
Yeah, I think that's Baba's passport picture.
Oh, okay.
One of them.
I see.
Fairish Day, I think you
Yes.
caught the essence. You caught Baba's essence in this, and I'm grateful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I
Great.
probably did that one when I was staying at the guest house or something.
It's wonderful. Just so romantic. It's beautiful, that long hair. Zarathustra. Yasmin says he looks like it. Zarathustra.
Hmm.
All right. Nice to see.
You know, I saw a video of Tex Hightower talking in about 2001 or 2002, and who do I see next to him but Jeff, really sitting right close to him, to his right, looking up at him. He's sitting in a chair with a cane in his hand, and he was telling a story about how Baba was like really made him feel real down and low by just a glance, because it was something about like everybody rose their hand, or Bob asked the group, you know, a question, and he was the only one that didn't raise his hand, and so
Whether he could obey him. Yeah.
Yeah, he just didn't raise his hand or something, and then Baba was like, "Why didn't you raise your hand?" or "Why didn't you tell the truth?" or something like that, because he knew what he was thinking. But Tex was like, I don't know," and he was trying to defend himself, and he was just digging himself deeper. And then Bob was just looking at him real, you know, just giving a smut, like just deep down look. And he was feeling like so horribly, and at the point where it climaxed, where he just felt like he couldn't handle that look from Baba. Bob just like broke into laughter, and his stomach was like jiggling with like how hard he was laughing. He was like looking up at the ceiling and like, you know, laughing super hard. And he looked down at Tex, and he was like, "Your mind is no good," and everybody started laughing in the room. But he basically was like telling him, "Yeah, you don't need to read anything like God speaks, or you don't worry about that." But you were right next to him, Jeff. You were cracking up the whole time.
He was very funny. Very
Yeah.
funny. I mean, I think some of you have heard him speak, right? Or seen videos of him.
I was in India with them in
Yeah.
'85. We smoked cigarettes on the veranda together
Yeah.
until we ran out of the American cigarettes, which was just awful for both of us.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I'll tell you about when back in my college days. This was, I think, in the fall of '67, and I was not able to find a place. This is in New York City, and you know, I'd come back every semester, and this is like from the summer, and everybody would grab up all the apartments, so it's very hard to get an apartment. And I was kind of living in a dormitory on sleeping on the sofas and trying to kind of not be seen by the security guards, and I was always having to move around. But I finally I saw a notice on the board, and I went to this one apartment. And the moment I went to this apartment, I found myself in, I described it as, it was a state of happiness for no reason. I had nothing could affect me. I mean, I just, and it was like unbelievable. I mean, there was nothing external or internal could affect me in the least. And then I began having an inner awakening. I came to know that we all have a divine destiny, and this all happened, you know. And so then maybe about, and about after the three months, I heard of Bob. But about 15 years later, Tex and I were sitting in the original kitchen having lunch, something like that. And we started like comparing where he lived in New York for all those years. He lived for many years in the same apartment. And and we compared addresses, and I lived only about, you know, our walls were adjacent. So I was basically picking up his, you know, I was getting a contact high from being in the next apartment. And he would be on one side saying the prayers, and I'd be on the other side of the wall saying the prayers. All this was going on. I had no idea until maybe 15 years later. So he was kind of my contact with Baba before I even heard of Baba. Yeah.
Yeah,
great.
I didn't really know the extent of his relationship or his exposure to Baba's physical form until I listened to more of his stories, and I was pretty shocked to hear about that, the time when he came to visit Baba after the accident. And I mean, I don't think very many people saw Baba.
Oh yeah, that.
But he really, I mean, to have that experience of, I guess he had made Baba a coat, and he went, asked if he could bring it to Baba, and somehow Baba said, yeah, that's fine. You can come in. And it was a totally opposite experience of when he had last seen him, or, he had seen him with his hair down and really bright and beautiful before. And now he walked in the room, and he just like dropped the coat on the side of the bed, and he just saw Baba like with a broken arm and sweat, and the room was all hot, and just in a totally different, totally suffering human being, and Baba asked him to sit on, next to him on the bed, and Baba took Tex's hand. I've never heard anybody else say this. Baba took his hand, and he said with such a force, with such a power, he took Tex's hand and put it on his own heart, on Baba's heart. And then he looked out the window, and he held it there for a while. And then he looked back at Tex, and he grabbed a grape, and he went like this. And Tex was like, with his hand, and Baba was like, no, open. And so he opened his mouth, and he held it in between his teeth, and he was like, chew it, and then so he bit into it, and the second he bit into it, Baba was like, okay, go. And that was I just thought that experience of having the avatar put your hand on his chest, on his heart, it was like, I was like, I didn't know the extent of his of how much he had been in contact with Baba until I saw
Well, I like the story right before that about in the lagoon cabin prior to the accident, and how he came in and Baba was sitting on a bench, or he asked Tex, he was sitting on a bench, and he had Tex, I think, sit next to him on the bench. Every time I go in the lagoon cabin, I imagine where that bench was. And then I get this image of Baba in just, Tex said he was just strolling back and forth, and Baba was strolling back and forth in the lagoon cabin when he came in. So there was this flowing motion, and then sit down here with me on this bench. Anyway.
Yeah.
I have a Tex story.
Oh, good.
Just before he passed away, of course, he had been in charge of restoring Baba's chair in the lagoon cabin. And he worked on it for a long time, and then his health did not permit him to finish. Is there an echo in here?
Yeah.
I wonder why. So he, okay. So he couldn't finish the restoration, and I think someone else, and Jeff, you may know this, someone else finished the job.
Pamela, I think Pamela Stone.
Pamela Stone finished the job. And his very last visit to the center and to the lagoon cabin, I happened to be sitting there when they brought him in. And this was the first time that he actually saw the chair finished. And it was such a moment. And I just happened to have the wherewithal to snap a few photos of him bowing to the chair. And that was his last visit to the lagoon cabin.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when we were kids, I don't even know how old we were, but I think it was Tex, myself, and I think it was Scott Himmelsbach. And Tex taught us a dance through the center path. And so as we went down the path, you'd have to start on your left foot, and he'd say left, 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 left. Left my wife and 49 kids for an old gray mare and a pickup truck. Did I do right, right, right from the country where I came foot, hay foot, straw foot, skip by jingo. And you'd have to be on your left foot to get onto the left next. So you'd have to skip and then be on your left foot to go left again. So we would just dance through the center doing his left, left. And then it got to the point where we didn't even say it out loud anymore, but we'd kind of look at each other and then silently do it and then do the skip by jingo at the right time. So anyway, I saw him before he passed as well, and looked at him and said, left, left. And he just grinned.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I know. He was so much fun. He was so
Very
much fun.
funny.
Okay, so I found the picture on my phone. Do you guys want to see it?
Yes.
Let's see. Can I share screen when I share content on my iPhone?
You should be.
Let's see. Screen broadcast, is that what I'm doing? I don't know how to, I've never done this before.
Gee.
Yeah, I think so.
I just go right to photos, but
Yeah.
Can you see my screen broadcast?
there it is. Yes.
Okay. I sent this to Edward Henkel.
Edward, yeah.
So here's one where he is with Edward right in front of the chair.
Yeah.
Like Catherine Cox.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's it. Another lighter version. I think I must have enhanced the photo. There we go. It's a little clearer.
What year is this?
2-3 years ago.
Oh, he only passed recently.
Yep. 2017, October. Well, this is when I sent the photos, so I don't know. All right.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Well.
Thanks.
Wow.
You're welcome.
Yeah. He liked me because I could barter when I was in India. We took a rickshaw together with some people, and he saw me bartering. And when I got back in the rickshaw, he's like, "Oh, I'm going to the market with you. You know what you're doing." But he always had the driest, wryest humor. I can't even tell you how he said it. You know, he just had that dry wryness about him that I loved.
Yeah.
Everybody liked, yeah. It kind of put me in mind of Margaret.
Yeah, he's one of those people I when I see, the videos of it, he just seems very familiar, or something about him is very just I can recognize.
Yeah, he heard of Baba back in 1947. So he goes way back with Baba. Yeah.
Wow.
19-year-old. Yeah.
Wait,
Wow.
in 1947, he heard of Meher Baba?
Yeah.
And what did he do about that?
Well, he saw Baba. He came down here in 1952 and was with Baba, and then 56 and 58, 62. He wanted to go to see Baba in 1954 for the 3 Incredible Weeks, but you couldn't jeopardize your work in order to come. And I think he was part of a production, and he just really couldn't go against, he had to kind of follow Baba's instructions there. Because as a dancer, you couldn't just drop out of a production. So he had a conflict of with the 3 Incredible Weeks.
How did he hear of Baba?
He went to this dance studio called what was the name of that place? upstate New York. Oh, I'm blanking out. Anyway, he just was like 19 years old, and he came from Texas. He just wanted to dance, and he hadn't really had any practice, taken any lessons in dancing, but he was determined. He wanted to be a dancer, and in order to come there, he didn't have any money, but he got a job of kind of mowing the grass and everything. And while he was mowing the grass and clearing some of the brush and things around the shrubs, this woman appears. I think she's saying, I can't remember. She makes some kind of humorous remark, and he kind of startles and looks up, and it's this very small, delicate lady. And she introduces himself, and that turned out to be Margaret Krask. So he just kind of stumbled upon her, so to speak, and gradually he heard of who Baba was. But even when he came down to meet Baba, he kind of went down because out of his love of Margaret, but he never really told her that he had his doubts about Baba. But boy, when he went in to see Baba for the first time in the lagoon cabin, that is something. I mean, you should get that. You probably have seen that, his description of that meeting with Baba. Boy, he was very taken completely by surprise. But it's, yeah.
The center just put out the audio from a talk that Margaret gave in the 90s.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if anybody's heard it, but
wow. Yeah,
I was taking notes. It was so incredible.
Yeah, she didn't normally give many talks in the meeting place. She would give talks in the library.
Yeah, this was at the library, I think.
Uh-huh.
So,
wow.
Yeah. Oh, my God. And I think you're in the front row laughing.
Oh,
because
really?
honestly, I was mad at the guys in the front row because she would say something and they'd laugh real loud and the microphones would pick it up, and then she'd be making all these other little quips and I couldn't hear what they were because the guys were laughing. So, and Jeff, I swear I heard you in there. I heard you. Yeah.
She was very funny.
She was.
In a droll way. Yeah.
Oh, God.
So.
Well, I'm going to sign off as well, and I'll see you guys. Oh, I won't see you, Jeff, in the morning, but I just had to kind of drop by and see you tonight.
Yeah.
All right.
Good. Yeah, give Larry my love, and
I will.
I enjoy hearing if he gets any more inspirations.
I'll tell him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Ferris Day, keep that inspiration flowing. Oof.
So we've got, I wonder which Ralph this is down there. I'm sure it's not Ralph Jackson. There's a Ralph down there. Most everybody else went. Dinku, we know. Dinesh. Yasmin.
Maybe they all fell asleep.
Yeah.
I guess it's their daytime though.
Yeah.
Oh, there's Rakesh.
Yeah, it's morning here, 8:30.
Yeah.
Breakfast time.
Breakfast time.
Sometimes they don't want to. They haven't kind of combed their hair or anything yet.
Yeah.
Jeff, I'd love to hear some more stories from you, please.
Yeah, if I can think of some.
Hey, I got a topic for you, Jeff.
Yeah.
The topic is how Baba is the outward expression. Baba is the outward expression of our innermost being.
Mm-hmm.
Baba is
Wow.
the physical outward expression of our most inner being. And we get to see that on video and pictures.
Yeah.
Whatever inspires you from that topic.
Well, that reminds me, there was a woman named Mercedes DaCosta. She was a screenwriter back in Hollywood in the 30s. And she was close with Greta Garbo, who was a famous
Yeah.
actress. But she also knew Norina and a number of people. But she was at a certain point in her life where she was contemplating suicide. She was so miserable in her life. She had even gotten a gun and had gone out. This is in California, in Hollywood. And she went out and she, even practiced shooting this gun. And on the day that she was planning to commit suicide, she got a phone call from Norina Machiavelli. And Norina, I mean, just imagine on the day when you decide to take your life, Norina Machiavelli comes and says, I have someone you have to meet. Oh, and she comes in with her Italian kind of thing and hits her with this, and you'll really want to meet her. And so Norina, because of the force of her personality, persuades her on the day that she's thinking of taking her life to come and meet somebody. But somehow she does. So she comes in her car, and Baba, I think, is on the second floor. So she goes up, is brought up to meet Baba. She said when she went to meet Baba, it was like meeting herself. She was actually, that was her description, that she was meeting herself. And then Baba spelled out on the alphabet board, now I want you to go down, I'm paraphrasing, I want you to go down and get your revolver and bring it up here. And so she went down. She had not told anybody what she had thought. She went down to her car, brought the revolver up. Baba opened it, took all the bullets out of it, and gave it back to her and said, never think of doing that again. But she had the experience that she was meeting her very self. And this is somebody that, wasn't exactly necessarily a spiritual seeker prior to this. But, and she met Baba in various times after that, Mercedes DaCosta. But so you're saying, Baba is who our innermost self.
Yeah, he's the outward expression.
Embodied in front of us.
In front of us.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about that story, it reminds me of a quote I just read today, Monty saying, I can grab it real quick, but about the internal links. Like,
oh yeah,
those people, some people would come by, or some people would wait for Baba for hours on end, and they would never get to see him, and he'd be like, what can I do? No connection in this lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really in this lifetime. The kind of spiritual connection in this lifetime, even though their time will come.
Yeah.
In some future time, but yeah, all of us were kind of fortunate that we had that internal link in this lifetime.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was thinking a lot about also the divine impressions you're talking about, and I was watching these videos of Baba, touching people, or patting a kid on the head or squeezing their face, and I'm like, what is going on? Like, and I even watched one of them in slow motion. There was this kid that was like, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years old, but I ended up meeting him at Baba's house, and he was like, I don't know his name, but
yeah. Larry Karish.
Is that his name? Larry Karish?
Yeah,
He
I
has
think
like
so.
he has like a little chain that he wears, and I don't know. He was like, yeah, I met Baba. I was young. I don't really, it was nice. Like he was pretty casual about it, and I was like, but in the videos you see him, Baba's touches his face and pats him
Oh,
on the head,
yeah.
pulls him in and kisses him on the cheek, and but if you see he does like just when I watched it in slow motion, he like grabs his face and then brings it back to his heart, and then goes over to his mom and shakes her hand and grabs her hand and then pulls it over towards his heart and then does that with both of his hands, and then the next person comes by and it's like he's just like taking and giving. It was like so the impression. I mean, you can almost it's like completely a beautiful orchestrated. There's a whole. I was watching. I
Yeah,
think it was the Delmonico Hotel. That was where I was
yeah,
watching it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and like
Now, and Larry is very dedicated to Baba, but he's very shy, even though he had so much contact with Baba.
wow,
52, 56, 58, and 62.
wow,
And yeah, and a beautiful thing is, now I don't know if I got this story exactly right, but like he made up one of these uh, plastic airplanes, these airplane kits, and gave it to Baba, things like that.
wow.
But Baba, on one of his occasions, he gave him a little box, a little wooden box. And if I remember right, I don't know exactly what he did with this box, but after Baba dropped his body, in January '69, when he opened that box, it had Baba's fragrance. It hadn't had that previously. But what a beautiful thing. Baba does all these little lovely things.
Wow. I just realized that the perfume that Baba, I don't know what it was called, but I have a little um, canister of it in the closet over there. But I got it from Myrtle Beach. But when I opened it up, I realized that this was like the smell of my childhood completely, because my grandmother loved that cologne and she would put it on herself and all the time because she was bedridden, and she would always wear a white gown, white sadra, really, and then just would have the cologne on her. And I remember being a child, and it was just a very familiar smell. So the scent, yeah, it was very
Beautiful.
strong.
Yeah.
That's incredible, Alan.
Yeah.
Because when they brought that cologne into Sheriar to sell,
Yeah.
I saw the bottle and I just about fell off my chair while I was standing. I just about fell on the floor because I recognized the bottle, but when I opened it and smelled it, it was my father's cologne.
Yeah.
Which I had my entire childhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible. Yeah.
But I mean, people said Baba didn't wear cologne. He had his own, like, her own beautiful scent. So what is that about?
He didn't like to shower.
I know that. So sometimes he probably wore an aftershave or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but they said that Baba had a fragrance like sometimes an actual kind of fragrance of like a distillation of roses and gardenias, some kind of very distinct. I mean, I've smelled it myself. It's very distinct. But also at other times, he had the fragrance of a young baby, the smell of a young baby. There's a kind of a smell of purity.
Mm.
Meow. Somebody was saying, I think it was John, who used to be the president of the Heartland Center.
John Pogue?
Yeah,
Okay.
he had a beautiful story that I ended up writing up for Glow magazine during a Sahavas he shared. And I don't remember the story, but at the end it was this scent, and it was like a combination of roses and musk and a third that he smelled.
Yeah.
Jasmine, roses, jasmine, and musk combined.
Yeah.
And then for some reason, that part of the story, which was the golden punchline, was removed. It never made it to the Glow by the editor.
Yeah.
You know, I was so sad. I never, after that, wanted to send another article because the best part was taken out.
Yeah. No, that happens. You know,
Mm.
when things get edited.
Yeah, well, sounds to me like the good stuff gets edited.
Well, how are you doing, Jeff?
Good. I'm doing all right. What can I say?
Are you tired?
Yeah, a little bit tired. I mean, I don't know. I mean, not like this evening or overall. I mean, my life is getting busier and busier. And the vacation that I had when this pandemic happened is over, and now it's been, everything is filled up.
What are you doing?
Oh, you know, I get emails and writing and a lot of different things. Plus, I'm working.
Yeah.
And trying to keep on top of this garden that just keeps growing and growing. Yeah.
Wow.
Got a beautiful garden with thousands of flowers on a lake.
Do you manage Baba's garden?
I did it for many years. Baba's garden was a miniature botanical garden, you might say.
Wow.
Yeah. I had 2 of everything. I had 3 of everything.
3 of everything.
Like a Noah's Ark kind of thing.
Oh, wow. And so do you get to necessarily walk into Baba's house if you wanted to?
You mean now?
Yeah.
No, but I can go in around it, but I don't go into Baba's house. I haven't in the last 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
Does someone go in there to clean it?
Yeah, it's being taken care of.
Wow, so it's designated people to go into Baba's house.
Rakesh, you got any any thoughts there?
No, not really. I have a question. You were sharing, I think 2 days before, and I mean your daytime, my night. You were mentioning of something like when you met Mohammed Musk and he took one of your photographs with, I think, Baba's hair on it, and after a few days you got it back. So, I mean, my thought was there on that, you know, when they take away some photograph or something like that, he is also picking up your sanskaras along with it. Some attachment with that photo, special attachment with the photograph, where he wants you to get this attached with that kind of attachment and including the sanskaras with that attachment.
Huh. Well, I didn't give a thought like that, but when it came back with Muhammad having touched you had it for 3 days, when I put it in my pocket, it expanded, this warmth just expanded from my chest, and we passed it around amongst all of us. There was such a charge that he must have infused into that photograph with the hair.
Hey, do you still have that photo?
No, I don't have it. Well, a friend of it was, I don't have it, unfortunately. Terrible. Yeah.
Wow.
There was a story like this with one of the pilgrims over here. With, he asked, I mean, Muhammad Mas asked him to give him a watch, but you know, his wife had given him, and it was a favorite watch. He didn't want to give it. So they had an argument. He kept insisting. I mean, the person to give the watch, and he said, "No, I will not give you. You ask me anything else, I'll give you, but not this watch because I mean he just got it from his wife. He just got married maybe 2 years, and that's it. But after a few years, he had a very messy marriage life, and he was divorced, and then he realized maybe he was taking the watch to pick up all the mess that happened in the marriage, and pick up all the sanskaras. So that's how the thought just came in, that is what I shared.
Yeah, I didn't notice anything, in my life, but I was maybe not even thinking along those lines. But it certainly was charged after it spent 3 days with Muhammad Must.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, enough that we could all feel it. Yeah. Prakash, what you got going up there?
Not much. Hang in there.
Yeah.
I mean, I just thought I'll quickly share a little incident in the year 1962 when my mom took my younger brother, who was 9 months old at the time. And we're a big family. We're a family of 5. And so generally the little one gets a chance to go with mom. So she took him, and he took Baba's darshan. I mean, it was a long queue and all that stuff. She took Baba's darshan, and she didn't realize that the kid also has to touch Baba. She put the kid on the side, and she takes darshan and then says, "Okay, let's go." And then she keeps going, and Baba claps, and through Eruch, he calls her back and says, "Bring the kid back to me." And then Baba takes him and then gives him a kiss, and now you take him and then go.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So that's one of your brothers.
Oh, my younger brother, and I can see it in him.
Yeah.
I mean, for him, there's nothing but Baba. And he's
Beautiful.
my little guru at home.
Yeah. This reminds me of a story. Well, unless anybody else has anything to say. Dinku?
Yeah, this is something that's kind of puzzled me. Years ago, it must be about 15, 18 years back, I had gone over to Freni Dadachandji's house across the road, and she loaned me the book on discourses. So I started reading it, and maybe I was in about the 2nd or the 3rd chapter, don't remember. But a funny kind of feeling came over me, and it was like, sort of, I can't express it. It was like I was getting dizzy, and something inside me was spiraling outward. And I got scared, actually, to be honest. And it was a very weird feeling. And I just had to shut the book, shut my eyes, and just, rest for a while. And I tried picking it up again, and again the same thing happened. And then I left the book. I've only picked it up again now. So I don't know what that experience was, but it stayed with me all this time.
Uh-huh. And you mean after many, many years, you went back to reading it?
Yeah, say. It's not the same book. I bought Discourses, but then Freni had loaned me the book, and I returned it back to her.
Yeah.
But I remember she took it out of Baba's room there.
Oh, oops. We lost. We lost sight of you.
Yeah. She went into Baba's room and brought this book out and said, "Here, take this book and read it."
Yeah.
And
that's right, because you were like a neighbor, something like that, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is Freni and Rustam. Dadachandji?
Forget her husband's name. I think it was Dara? No, I think Dara.
Dara? Uh-huh.
Freni's Rhoda's sister-in-law.
Yeah. No, I think it's Rustam and Freni Dadachandji, but I could be wrong. And Rustam was one of the, or Behram, was it Behram? One of
No,
Naraman Dadachanji's brother. Hoshang.
I know he was Homa's brother.
Huh. Oh, Hoba.
Uh,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. So he was Homa's brother and Rhoda's brother as well.
Yeah.
Rhoda and Arnavaz's brother.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot. Yeah. He died, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, he died. I'd never met him.
Yeah. So, yeah. So somehow yeah, occasionally things like that happen, you know, where they get some kind of unusual experience in reading Baba.
Yeah, that happened
But
to me when I opened discourses the first time when I was trying to find something. I remember I told you I was trying to find something I disagreed with. So I wanted to find, you know, something I could argue with Baba about. So I opened the discourses, and I never really got into the details, but that's a very similar experience I had, except instead of feeling like I didn't want to go back to it, I immediately tried to go get that experience again, and then it wouldn't happen on my own command or something. But yeah, that first time I felt like I was floating out of my body, and
yeah,
I was
exactly.
everything was expanding, and then I had to close my eyes because it was so intense, and then I was like, okay, well, maybe there's some truth in this book. Maybe there's something to this. I don't know. I was like, I was still pretty hard-headed, but yeah,
Yeah, that's exactly it. You know, like you're floating out something, you're spiraling out of your body. That
yeah,
kind of an experience.
Yeah.
And it scared me. I mean, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
It was a scary experience.
Yeah. A number of people have gotten scared initially, unusual experience with Baba. That's kind of way outside the norm of their usual experience. Just the impact of coming up against the divine when you're not quite as suspecting it. And it, you know, some people have been lifted completely out of space and time.
like you.
Yeah, it happened to me. But, yeah, it. But I wasn't disoriented at all. It was so infused with love that I,
Wow.
even though it was all kind of miraculous and never happened to me before, but it was in such a loving context that I was completely uh, felt completely safe. I didn't even think about myself, you know, that was unusual or anything like that. Yeah. But so
My
you're back. Oh, go ahead.
my thought is, Jeff, that here's the ego that's been going on for eons, one direction, and suddenly it's faced with a completely new paradigm.
Yeah.
And I think it's a jolt to the ego.
Yeah. Yeah. To discover the divine in the middle of this melodrama is really, even if you don't feel the shock of it, it makes the deepest impression.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, Adi, Baba's secretary and disciple from the early years, he used to say, conviction in darkness is God realization in disguise.
Mm.
Conviction in the darkness of the world and in conviction in ignorance. To know that who Baba is really, to have that conviction is God realization in disguise. In other words, you know it, and then everything eventually peels away, and you're left with that experience. But it's already been implanted in us. Now it's just a matter of removing the scaffolding.
Well, Jeff, when you talk about removing, like, I feel like, for example, there's a sense in me personally that there's like the heart center of where I can give things to Baba consciously. That's part of the efforting. And there's some things that are so large that, or so impactful that they feels like it gets stuck almost like it's too big to leave in a certain way. Like yeah, it's almost like it's like a clogged artery or a feeling. And there's all those layers that take time to give Baba one by one.
Yeah, but it's good. I think it's good to feel the impediments in the flow of your love. You know, I mean, to be even aware of it. And I think of it, I mean, I just try to send Baba's love through it and try to gradually erode it away, even if it takes hours. You know, like some lump or some kind of congestion, emotional or congestion in me, I kind of welcome that, you know, and try to just flow through with Baba's name until it lifts. And all those things, all those internal things are, you know, like I say, impediments in the flow. And if you can wash those impediments away, you're that much larger. You're I used to take them as bad signs, you know, like why do I have this? You know, now I think, hey, well, it's no big deal. It gives me some concrete work to do internally to liberate myself from these limitations. But they're more like emotional knots rather than something up in my head. They're at the heart level, and I try to move through, you know, flow through that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it feels like it feels more physical almost. It feels like a physical.
It's luckily we're lucky that it interfaces with the body because you have something concrete to flow through. If it were non-physical, I think it might be harder to even perceive these things. But they interface with the body, so you have that sinking in the stomach, or you know, some tightness in the throat that you can flow through. I appreciate the fact that I feel it on my body, is that it registers on my body.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's just not to, I think it's easy to move your mind to get wrapped up in thinking that, you know, I thought I already gave this to you, Baba, or, you know, I thought that this was done with, or, you know, these different layers that seem to be endless. And actually they hold, if you look deep, when I look deeply inside myself, they hold actually a framework that of my consciousness. They hold a framework of how I see the world and how I, you know, live my life and interact with everything around me. So it's kind of, I think Baba has it so it's not all just stripped away all at once, or else I'd kind of just be a jumble of jelly, you know.
Yeah. No, I think it all unfolds quite beautifully. You know how we get liberated very slowly, but it's a kind of a beautiful process.
Yeah.
You know.
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah.
I just saw the note in chat. The Ralph in question is Ralph Jackson.
Oh, good. I had a thought that it might have been Ralph Jackson. I think I said Ralph Jackson.
Yeah, he doesn't have a microphone.
Sorry to disturb everybody, but I'm leaving.
Okay, Janisha.
See you later.
Bye, sweetie.
Bye-bye.
I'm on my iPhone, so I didn't even know you were here.
So wonderful.
Sorry. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I'm so glad that Ralph Jackson.
He's still on. He's still
Where's
on.
he from?
Waco,
Where's he from?
Waco,
Texas.
Yeah. Or
I've been to Waco, Texas.
I think he, at least he used to be in Waco, Texas. I think he may still be there. Hey, Ralph.
He says, Jai Baba.
Oh, good. Hey. We used to work at Shariar Press together way back in the early 70s.
Wow.
He's a great photographer. A lot of those beautiful photographs of the Mandalay in the early years were taken by Ralph.
He's getting ready for bed because it's very hot, 105 degrees there.
Oh, God, he's getting so soft. I thought back when he was living in Myrtle Beach, he would have been able to tough it out, I say from this air-conditioned room.
Yeah, it's
hey.
Getting hot here as well.
Hey, Shraddha is there. Shraddha, a beautiful letter that you wrote.
Jai Baba, Jeff.
Jai Baba, that was a beautiful letter that you wrote.
Oh, yeah.
And I read it out to Stu Baker.
Oh.
He was very touched.
Yeah, I sent him a note too.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I didn't know whether you had his email address. Yeah.
Yeah, we could connect on Facebook, and I dropped him a note there. And his meditation is just very wonderful.
Yeah. Oh, great.
Yeah.
No, it's really kind of opening up the heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's like you do all this internal work, and then the icing on the cake is when Baba's presence comes in and fills it.
Yeah. I was actually disheartened initially a little bit because, people kind of tell you that, hey, I saw Baba in my dreams. And I was like, Baba has never visited me ever in my dreams. What's going on with me? Probably I'm the most insensitive person, or probably, not thinking the right way.
And how did Baba look? What age was he?
So
she had a dream of Baba just night before last, I guess.
Oh, wow.
The last week he was, I want to say, in his late, how he would appear in a white sadra in his, 1967 film, for example, the latest film, how he was. And the surprising part was the brief was very short, and earlier in the morning, when I was actually seeing him, it didn't even occur to him that, oh my God, I'm seeing Baba, or I'm this here is God man in my dreams. I didn't even realize that. And he was initially a little bit angry at me for something that I did. We were going to someone's, and I kind of recall the face was very similar to Dr. Gohar. And it felt like we were eating there and Baba had to go somewhere, and I sort of made it late for him to go, and he got a little bit angry. And as I joined him, he forgot all that anger, and he lovingly started explaining to me, took me closer to him, and how he kind of touches your cheek and kind of tries to explain. And he was actually talking, unlike how he was silenced. But I couldn't quite understand the words, but I got the gist of what he was trying to communicate to me. It was like just beautiful.
Oh, wow. And the Mandala used to say that it's not a dream. Baba has actually, it's a visitation. He's actually come to you.
Yeah.
It's not, you can't, it seems like it's a dream, but it's an actual visitation. So he has come to visit you.
I am so touched.
Yeah, what a beautiful thing.
Hey, Shraddha, when you saw him, when you were in his presence, what was your internal experience during those moments of him touching you, or when you were right there?
Yeah, it was so brief and everything was so fast, and it was exactly like how we see in the movies, but experiencing him in is so different than seeing him in films. You imagine how fast he was in his actions. Like, even though he was so old, he was so rapidly walking forward. And in just one, in one instance, he conveys and communicates so many things. Like, he was eating the food, he was enjoying it, and he was communicating it at the same time. That was so tasty and yummy to whoever made it. And at the same time, he finished it, and it felt like there was like 1,000 years packed of action in that 1 second, one instance.
Yeah, boy.
And to experience that is completely different than actually even seeing a film. Seeing a film gives you a glimpse of that, but to experience it was completely different. So
yeah, oh, beautiful.
I was like, this is so amazing. And I couldn't catch up to his speed, like walking. He was so fast still. Walking back to the car, sitting there and doing his actions and, you know, distributing the prasad, going to the store and still explaining. So he's in every moment. It felt like he's in every moment with everyone in that place around you and not just present with you. Like exactly how you described, Jeff, when you saw Baba in 1960, shortly after he dropped his body.
Yeah, yeah. What did could you? Oh no, I guess not. I was thinking, could you have actually? Could that even possibly be a past life recollection?
Oh my God, yeah. I don't even know. And
when were you born?
I was born in 1980.
Yeah. See, you could have. I mean, that could have been an actual time when you were with him, and it's all been preserved. I mean,
I would be so fortunate.
In both cases, it's real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's real if he came a visit to you in a dream or it actually happened.
Yeah.
But it sounds very natural. You know, sounds like it's like being with him physically in person.
Right, right.
And Dr. Gowrie said was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might have happened. You don't know.
Yeah, for a really long time, I was very disappointed that, you know, my dad had seen Baba in his dreams. You know, a lot of the friends and relatives and the Baba family we hang out with. And I never, up until now, this is the very first time in my life I've ever seen Baba in my dream. And it was like mind blowing. Right after the dream, and I realized, I opened my eyes and I'm like, was that Baba really? And I tried to go back to sleep and close my eyes. I'm like, can I get back to my dream again? And, you know, that was it.
Yeah, no, it's rare. I mean, I have not had a dream of Baba since the 70s.
Yeah.
Now, you'd think I would have dreams of Baba. I mean, right here and the pictures of Baba, movies talk about Baba. So it's very rare.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Shraddha, when you were there with him, was your experience of it more, you know how dreams have the essence of, well, you can kind of tell they're a dream because they're a little bit hazy, versus when you have one of those type of dreams that are like it's more real than even this waking life, or it's as real as this conscious waking life. How did you feel when you were experiencing it there?
It felt like I was completely naive and I didn't even know there was God in front of me. It felt very real though. And it felt like I didn't have any slightest sense of what was going on. It felt like I didn't even have human consciousness. It was like very natural. I was hanging out with someone and someone is telling me to do, you know, lovingly explaining to me like any grandparent would do or anything like that. But I mean, going back, and I tried to connect a lot of dots. And Baba always says in his messages, saying, you know, try to create that longing for love in your heart. And And I constantly had this question in the back of my mind. How can I even love a person whom I've never met or whom I've never seen? It's so difficult to make up that love, at least for a person like me, who is, I think I feel that after, there's a long story here. I feel like I'm a little bit more towards insensitive person than, I find a lot of people around me more sensitive to a lot of things compared to me. And I would always question this. How would I be able to ever love Baba? I don't think it's possible in this life. And this question would be open in the back of my mind all the time. And after that dream, I'm constantly thinking of Baba as in, can I get another glimpse of that dream again? And, that's exactly what he did. Sow that seed of love in your heart. And I was like, wow, that was so beautiful. In just one instance of that dream, he created that longing, that desire.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. And he was very human.
Yeah.
And that's what we can have the deepest feeling for.
Yeah.
Just him as he is as a human being.
Yeah.
I find.
That's totally true.
Yeah.
It's like all the stories that I've been listening to, and I listen to all your stories in the background, Jeff. Sometimes I don't find enough time to dial in to log into a lot of these sessions. And sometimes, there's just so many people. I don't feel like interjecting a lot of times too. So we don't end up talking, but I watch all of your, videos and you guys' recorded sessions on YouTube. And to a great extent, they are helpful, but it's like giving you realization. It's like putting that stamp of reality that everything that's been heard and seen so far is true and real.
Yeah. Yeah, really. I mean, it makes it all the more real so that it bypasses your imagination.
Yeah.
You've got him, you know him, and then you can just extrapolate, just kind of expand from that.
Yeah. Yeah.
In any way you want,
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's a beautiful story there.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, I want to catch Baba in my dreams, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll make a visitation.
Yeah.
Jai Baba.
Dream of Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba, Prakash.
Yeah. That's really profound.
Yeah. That's what happens. We have the youth sahavas here where the kids come. A lot of them grew up in Baba families. And it was kind of they kind of went along with it. It was something their parents, were into. But sometimes I'll overhear one of the center guests ask one of the young adults, how did you come to Baba? And they'll say, oh, well, I grew up in a Baba family and, I knew about Baba and everything. But I really came to Baba during the youth sahavas.
Yeah.
That's when he became personal for me.
Yeah.
In their teenage years, Baba would contact them as he did, in a very real way. So it all what their parents were into all these years, now it all makes sense.
Yeah.
They have Baba for themselves.
Right.
It's not a belief. It's not kind of a historical figure, but it's somebody right there.
Yeah, that's so true.
Looking after, no, that's beautiful.
So you have a closer relationship now to your relationship with Baba because of this dream?
Because of this dream, exactly.
You had some distance before where you felt you weren't able to connect fully, or what?
Yeah, so a long story short, I grew up in India, and in India, every other, just because how the country is still developing and everything, every middle class family kind of brings up their kids to, you have to grow up in a more progressive environment. You have to be more like the Western culture, Western, the thinking minds, the intellectuality and all of that stuff. Because, growing up, I grew up in a family where, I was writing down this thing for Jeff in the email that, Aloba visited our house. And the first thing that he says after he steps into the house is, "Oh my God, Baba, there is so much love in this house." And he could feel it. He could feel the vibes. And, when you grow up in an environment where something is, inherited or passed on as legacy, you take it for granted. And I mean, it felt like I couldn't relate to it as much as I could relate to, how the Western world was making so much progress and all of that stuff. And I was so much into, intellectuality, thinking and doing well and going abroad and getting away with all of that. But the more I followed that route, the more I saw myself distancing myself from Baba. And I could feel it in my heart, but, I felt that this was necessary to pursue. And the more I kept doing that, I felt like I was getting more and more insensitive. I work in the tech world, and, there's a lot of competition and all of the things that, it really brings out the bad part of you and all of that competition. The more and more you become narrow-minded and selfish. It's even though it is for the company and for the brand and for the greater good of the company, it's still very, very much focused on, you are every day making choices between whether the company survives or whether something else. So you end up trading off a lot of humanity for that extra profit or that revenue for the company. And then I really was not unhappy. I was really not happy with where I found myself. I felt like it was just getting more and more, in a rat race kind of thing. And I could feel it deep in my heart that I'm finding myself further away from Baba. The only points I could connect with Baba was the instances when I was with my family. So recently my parents have been going through a lot of health struggles and complexities and challenges, especially considering the pandemic and lockdown. My dad has had a heart attack last year. I had to be with them. And then this year he had a stroke. But in those suffering moments, I felt like Baba is still there. Like when my dad was in the ICU in the hospital, and the doctors told me that he's on high sedatives, so he's going to be passed out most of the time. But he was in a lot of pain after the surgery, and I could hear him constantly taking Baba's name. Like he was constantly Baba, 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 Baba. And he would wake up, after every few hours or so, and I would ask him, "Do you remember that you were taking Baba's name?" And he had no idea that that was happening. And he wasn't doing that consciously, apparently. But I noticed that during those 2 or 3 days when he was in the ICU, he was just constantly taking Baba's name without him knowing about it. And he wasn't even aware that he was doing it. And the doctors were saying that, he was on high, sleep medicine. So, he's probably going to be passed out. He wouldn't even know. So those small moments kind of felt like I was experiencing closer with Baba. But other than that, when I went back to my life, I felt like I was further and further distanced away until I met you guys on Circle of Friends and started reading the book and really started that inward journey. And I felt like I was sort of connecting with Baba again. So I don't know, it really feels like, all this journey was helping me connect the dots and bring back to Baba.
Yeah, and the book Effort and Grace it's appealing not just to the heart but to the mind. I mean, this is he had a very deep understanding of the mind itself.
Yeah.
And how it moves into the heart.
Right.
And so it's not just a devotional work.
Yeah.
Very intelligent at the same time.
Right.
And yeah,
And
very.
it totally rung a bell there. Yeah, I started reading it and I felt it totally appealed to me. It resonated. And I think each of these sessions have been so, so insightful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. From someone who is writing from experience.
Yeah, from someone who is.
Yeah. Very clear.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, I'm very happy for you, and that's and all of the things that come along will just only be enhancing that. And it's very hard in the pressures of work and everything to be able to to keep Baba there. I mean, but that inner space that you create, your mind can be occupied, but you can drop back and know your heart is full.
Yeah.
And go back to your work, and you know that you can keep dropping back into your heart at various times, so that work doesn't have to take you away from Baba.
Right.
And it can. I mean, it's so absorbing. Yeah.
Yeah. I still feel I'm still struggling to get that balance, and I'm still trying hard to get there whenever I am at work and doing my work. It's hard to, it's hard to keep Baba in mind. I'm still struggling to, I start my work thinking about Baba, but during all the work happening, and it happens for many hours.
Well, I'll tell you something that was a turning point in my life, and because it might relate to approach to work. When when I was first down here in Myrtle Beach, I had a job painting houses with this one guy. I was working for him, and we were painting the houses at this development's kind of north of the center, called Briarcliff, in a kind of well-to-do homes, and we really had to do an excellent job. And back then I was kind of like a Baba remembrance machine. I was just Baba, 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 and I was painting, sanding, and just with Baba's name, all the time, and painting the surfaces. And so I was, it was kind of Baba the whole time. And so about 6 months later, the guy that I was working with and we were in India, and we were with Erich right outside Mandalay Hall, just the two of us. And he said to Erich, Erich, he said, I'm a house painter. And I go in, and hours go by. I'm so into the painting that hours go by, I haven't even remembered Baba. And I mean, this is the most important thing, to be remembering Baba. I'm forgetting him for periods of time. Now, that was not my problem. I was just Baba, 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 going crazy. This is what Erich said. In the beginning, it's important to remember Baba, to read his works, to see the movies, to go the places where Baba has been, all say his name and all of that. But in time, it becomes important to forget yourself. When you really forget yourself, then Baba can live through you. So he said, go get into your painting and forget yourself in the painting. And then Baba can live through you, even though you're not aware of it. But when you remember to remember him. When, in other words, get into your work, be wholehearted about it. But when you come out of it and you remember, you remember lunchtime is coming up. Well, remember Baba at that time. So the self-forgetfulness and Baba remembrance, for me, they've complement each other. I was too much into Baba remembrance, I mean, it was a great relief. I mean, I could go and play volleyball and get into the game. I didn't have to be thinking of Baba the whole time I was playing volleyball. I kind of get into it. And then after the volleyball game, when we're leaving, then I remember, oh, Baba, you know. And I asked Margaret Crass dancers. Margaret Crass was, you know, she had all these dancers who were devoted to Baba. And I asked them, you know, do you remember, and they were in these big productions, some of the famous movies they were in. And I said, do you remember Baba when you're out on the stage performing in these big productions? They said, no, it didn't work to remember Baba. They remember Baba before, and then they'd get into the dance and get lost in the dance, and they would remember him afterwards. So
that is wonderful.
So that really meant I mean, my friend who asked the question, he never remembered this conversation, but see, because I think it was meant for me, because that way I could, like I say, remember Baba, and get lost in things, get lost in gardening, get lost in a song, whatever. And then, so yeah, you don't have to because Adi asked Baba one time, he was going to university, you know, how can I remember you and study at the same time? And Baba said, no, study and then afterwards remember me. So your job, it might make your job a little easier if you know you can kind of give yourself to it, but just when you do remember to remember Baba.
That's beautiful.
I don't know if that would, but it has worked for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. That way it's a little more natural. You know, you're not kind of forcing yourself to remember. As a strain to remember. Yeah. When your heart wants to just kind of get into something.
Yeah.
With forgetfulness. Yeah.
That's so beautiful.
You know, whenever I'm at work and I'm intensely on the phone, or there's people calling me that I prefer not to really talk to, for example, you know, maybe it might be in a moment where it's just the last thing I want to hear, or I you know, is somebody shouting at me and telling me, you know, how this isn't right and how I'm wrong, and listing the things that are not right. So in those moments, I've kind of started to like hook in to my mind the feeling, or I have to rely on kind of calling out to Baba in my heart right before I'm about to speak to them, because I can feel the engines kind of kicking up, and I'm, you know, getting all worked up. And before I speak, I'm like, Baba, you're gonna have to speak for me, because I actually can't, my mind is going to say something else, you know, and I always find that when I do that, it's like putting the grist for the mill or something. It's like it just all of a sudden, it just gets transmuted into exactly what they would need to hear. And it's not the way that I would intellectually put it, but it comes out in ways that before, when I didn't really have a trust in that, then I was sort of like, you know, I don't know, I would just sort of think about Baba, and I'd be like, this is, okay, right now I can't think about Baba because it's not helping me solve this situation. So I need to just talk from my own mind, and then I would talk from them, and then there'd be problems. But now I'm trusting more, and I'm testing it. I'm like, kind of, I have a scientific mind, so I'm like, does this really work? And I'm like, okay, let me really try this with you, Baba, then. And the more I've been really kind of delving and really trying it, it's sort of like, oh, well, this feels a lot better. And it's just sort of like slowly kind of falling into that more than the other thing. And so, yeah, I'm finding as these months are going by, and of course talking to Jeff, and just going by and seeing that the work and the stress is still the same. You know, the people are, I'm not gonna transform them or something. I mean, maybe unconsciously in some way Baba is, but I'm not interested. You know, all I can do is, hi, how you doing? You know, and in that moment, it transforms because I'm remembering him through my heart and in action. And I don't know if that makes sense,
Yeah.
but
Well, you've hit upon something that Eric's talked about is, um, and you kind of have to know the history, but uh, after the end of New Life, Erich was so wiped out, so exhausted and everything that when Baba asked him to go to the United States in '52, he, he just said, Baba, I'll just be a drag on you. I have not got it. He was even fainting and everything. He was wiped out from the New Life. And so there's more to it and everything. But so Baba came to America in '52, but he sent Erich and Pendu to go around and talk about Baba throughout India. But he said, Baba, I've never talked about you. I mean, I don't feel, qualified. I'm not able to do this. You know, I can't do this. But Baba said, well, whenever you're about to speak, you just say, Baba, you speak. And that's what he did. And Gary Kleiner asked him, even maybe in the 80s or 90s, do you still do that? He said, always. Baba, you speak. Ask him to speak. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're speaking exactly like the avatar would speak. He's got to speak through your impressions, your sanskaras, your conditioning. But ask Baba to speak, and that what you said there, it reminded me. Say Baba, and that's what I do. Baba, you speak. We'll see what, and sometimes you're surprised. Things that you wouldn't say, things that I wouldn't say, kind of unexpected things come out. Or I remember things that I hadn't thought of in ages. So that's the way to, when you talk with your boss, Baba, you talk.
Yeah. Now, luckily, I have a good manager, so I'm lucky. I'm lucky in that way.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. Dinku, what do you do? What's your work, or do you are you? Uh-oh. Can't hear Dinku.
Yeah. Okay. No, I retired long back after I remarried.
Yeah.
But I used to work in the airlines, and now I'm just a housewife.
Well, not just a housewife.
Yeah, that's true. It's a lot more work.
Yeah, it is like.
It's 4 times more work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But doing things with, in the workaday world, sometimes you can't do things with conscious love as much as you can in a home setting.
That's true.
You have you don't have the materialistic pace. It's a little more of a pace of the heart.
Yeah, that's right.
If I had a choice, I'd rather be between being a husband or a wife. I'd rather be a wife.
Oh, I don't know if you'd really, once you experience it, you may not agree.
Oh, well, I like kids, and I like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But can I share something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. It was Nan's book that actually propelled me to go to Mehrabad. And anyway, that's when I really got into Baba. I'd heard about him a lot more before.
They may not know Nan Umbregar. Do you guys know Nan Umbregar? She has brought many people to Baba. She wrote a book called The Sounds of Silence. That was her first book. Very popular. Go ahead, though.
Yeah. Well, anyway, then I really got into Baba. And as I'd mentioned before, I was having problems at home with my daughter, and she was in the terrible teen years. And I'd written to Nan. She used to communicate through her son, Carl. So I'd written to her about some problems I was having, and like what would Baba have me do, stuff like that. And I didn't hear from her for a few months. And one day things had come to a head, and I just, told my daughter, I said, I'm leaving. You can stay here, do what you want. I'm getting out. And I took out a suitcase, started filling it. Well, not a suitcase, actually, a smaller bag. Started filling it with some clothes and stuff, and said I was really, really upset. And I said, I'm leaving. And just then the phone rang. I picked it up, and it was Nan. And she said, Dinku, I have a message for you through Carl from Baba. And it was at that precise moment when I was just about ready to leave home and walk out. And I just broke down. I just couldn't, I was just so moved and so, I felt so loved and so good.
Boy, beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was after about a couple of months because, I'd even almost forgotten about that.
Yeah, no, I know when Baba does these things, that he knows you so intimately. Who could know you that intimately? It could be even, well, here's a major thing, but it can be a very small thing too,
Yeah.
But it just brings you to tears.
True.
When you're in a low moment and everything, and on the radio comes a song that you used to love as a child or something, and you just know that Baba made that song. It was timed to remind you of a earlier time in your life or something. They're just
Yeah.
I think yeah.
And another time when I had got my dog sterilized, and she was knocked out. I brought her home, but she was under anesthesia, but she would be whimpering, I don't know, maybe in pain or whatever. So I was sitting at my little prayer table, and she was next to me in her corner. And, I was praying to Baba and telling him, please, I know you love animals, and, just take care of her, just see that she's not in pain. And I was just talking to Baba. And even she suddenly sort of staggered up and walked right around me and came and sat in my lap. And to me, that was a sign that Baba was taking care of her.
Yeah. I know those things, that his hand was in it. And it just brings you to tears. All these little things. He doesn't do it all the time. It's kind of little with eyedroppers, he drops those things in.
Yeah, that's right.
That happened to me today. I had a picture of Baba in front of me, and it was from 1954, Andhra, and I had it on my lap with my knees up, and I was looking into his eyes, and my cat, who has got really bad arthritis, and she's 21. I keep telling everybody, but yeah, she's 21 years old. So she comes over and she hops up on the bed, and she's been going back and forth, kind of with dementia. She's been going back and forth, just kind of meowing and crying and meowing, and she has food. She forgets she has food. So she finally comes over, and I'm like looking at this picture because I'm just kind of at a moment, and it's my day off, and I just want to relax. And she kind of comes over and kind of walks over, and she's fallen over because just a little bump will make her back hips go off. And she comes over and she turns and she just sort of sits and she looks at Baba, and she just kind of sits down and kind of puts her head down a little bit as she's looking at the photo, like looking at him, and she just puts her paw on me and starts just purring out this like really sultry, very deep purr, like very kind of vibrating my own chest to the point where I felt more relaxed. She helped me relax. So yeah, it was very precious.
It's just, it's too much, Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, well, I think I better, it's later for me than you California people and you India people, you
Yeah,
Texas
it's like
people.
12 in the morning.
Yeah, it's morning here. It's 9:40 in the morning here.
Morning.
Hey, Rakesh.
Yeah. Ralph, I didn't get to see you, but it was wonderful that you're still in circulation. Ralph at the bottom, he went to the 69 Darshan and he's grand old guy.
Yeah.
Who did that?
Ralph Jackson, he's down
Oh,
at the bottom of my screen.
oh wow.
Yeah.
Mm.
Jay Baba, Ralph.
Yeah.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba, everyone.
Yeah.
And thank you so much, Jeff. As
Yeah.
usual, thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah. Wonderful. And Rosalie is around and yeah, we're, or maybe she's fallen asleep. I mean, it is, oh God, it's 12:15 here.
Oh,
Yeah, it's pretty late.
you better get some sleep.
AM. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Well, oh, that's right,
Okay.
because I've got to see Rakesh tomorrow at 7 in the morning, right?
Yes. Yes.
Uh-oh.
Alan, why don't you log in with us day after in the morning?
When is
What,
it?
you
Day
mean,
after.
well, why don't I do it anyway? Just because make sure I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, yeah,
I
tomorrow
mean,
morning.
I'm not
Yes.
I'm not computer savvy, and I could.
Yeah.
I've had things go haywire, and you know, to get together with you guys, I want to. If I'm not able to do it, I'm in trouble.
Is this a talk like a Q&A?
Yeah, I think I mean, I got to figure out what I might share with the Bombay and Pune people, and that's Monday. I mean Wednesday morning here,
Wednesday morning.
which is the
That's
afternoon
when,
there.
so it's Tuesday evening here.
No, Wednesday
No,
evening.
Wednesday evening. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
4:30.
Yeah. Rakesh, you'll send the link, please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it's gonna be 7 in
Yes.
the morning on 7 in the morning for you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think I can make that. It's gonna be 4 in the morning for me.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I got to figure out, I got to at least think of something to share, but yeah.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things I was thinking of is you know, there was this one woman who painted the mural inside the tomb. Her name was
Yeah.
Helen
Yeah.
Dunham, a Swiss lady. She was kind of a loner and, you know, kind of antisocial. And she would work in the tomb and then she'd come back outside and sit off to the side and smoke cigars, which Baba would supply her with.
Wow.
And she didn't really interact much with the other women on the hill. This is at Upper Maribud. But at one point she was, you know, I guess maybe complaining to Baba that, you know, she, uh, you know, just didn't exactly enjoy being around people. But Baba, rather than humoring her, said, "But the path is through people. You know, you
Wow.
can't get
Mm.
out. You can't
Wow.
get out of this place in isolation."
Uh,
You know, I mean, Baba says, you know, true happiness lies in the begins
re-
when you learn the art of right adjustment to others, and right adjustment involves self-forgetfulness and love. So we are stuck. We have to learn to adjust to a wide range of people, and there are a lot of different ways. I think it's an interesting subject, and I don't know. I mean, if people could get into it. What do you think, Rakesh?
no, that would be excellent, wonderful.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, that may be
No, that is very interesting.
because, I mean, just to say my own experience, just one of my experience when I came to work at the center. This is back in the 70s. I thought Baba would draw the cream of the crop of humanity here, and I got very disillusioned. I found out that
It's the other way around.
what he drew here was a cross section of humanity. I mean, from scoundrel to saint, from miser to philanthropist, from from working class to wealthy and affluent. I mean, and I remembered that Eric had said that a sign that you're that you're in the court of the avatar is that all of humanity is represented. In
Yeah.
in other ashrams, you may have people that are more spiritually minded, but what Baba's got is he's got the whole family, but so people who would normally not be together, normally we kind of connect with people that are more culturally connected, similar with maybe people that are of similar education and everything. But here, because of we're dedicated to Baba, all these different kinds of people you have to adjust to. I mean, you would not normally be hanging out with such a wide spectrum of people. You generally, they're more similar to you, and so that's the challenge. Its challenge is to be able to, enjoy. I mean, well, we're going to say the challenge is to how are you going to be with these people that are so different from you, people that you wouldn't normally associate with.
Yeah, or interact with at all.
Yeah, but
yeah.
So what I had to do is I had to kind of keep lowering my expectations of others. I mean, because it's our expectations that make it difficult for others to be around others.
That's true.
The expectations have to go, and I'm over 20 years. I lowered more and more, and so that I can enjoy my fellow Baba lovers and people. Because my value system was quite different from a lot of the people I encountered.
Well, so what if somebody really kind of wigs out or something, and you have to be like, actively like, hey, buddy, you got to get off the center now, or something like that, where it's,
I have to do what?
if somebody kind of goes haywire, is not acting right in a certain sense, like if they're, potentially violent or potentially, I don't know, not in their right sense of mind, like you're saying you don't drop into the place of fear and anger and hatred towards them, but you're like, okay, I need to escort them off, but not in a hateful way.
Yeah, I normally don't. I try to appeal to their better angels. I mean, if you connect and they feel like you're acknowledging them rather than condemning them or disapproving of them, it's easier to work out an uncomfortable or a difficult situation.
So being loving really helps.
Being loving and also being non-judgmental.
Oh, wow.
Not being critical. And oddly enough, when the criticalness drops out of you, a good bit of it, people actually treat you better.
Wow.
People feel more comfortable and relaxed around somebody that's not critical or judgmental of them. They just they can be themselves and they kind of relax. So you actually, their behavior is actually better. That's what I find.
Wow. Well, that's very helpful.
It's, but we have these standards, you know, of how people should behave. You know, no one does that around me. No one treats me that way. uh, you know, I mean, and that thing, you know, those standards that we have, or these expectations, um, really get in the way.
What do you do in that instance when those expectations are in your mind and you're actually having a conversation with them? And are you like instantly reminding yourself that I shouldn't be doing this, or is that spontaneous for you?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not a should, you know, I shouldn't be thinking this because you may be thinking of it. Well, here's the one thing that I find valuable is no matter how you feel towards somebody, there's a part of us that can flow through them. There's a part of us that can actually do, instead of letting our consciousness stop with this negative reaction to somebody, it's also possible to flow through them at the same time. And that softens the whole thing. You're basically you're expressing a kind of love toward them, even though your emotions, which are different from love, are getting stopped, are being disturbed. Emotions and love are on two different tracks. People think they're one and the same. I don't like that person. Well, I mean, there was one. I mean, I'll just give you an example. There's one lady. I think I mentioned this to you before, Alan. So a lady who her name was Agnes Barron. She was kind of a feisty, kind of opinionated, bristly lady who was in charge of Mayher Mount, which is in California. She was they call her the watchdog of Mayher Mount. And so it was two things that struck me about her. Baba came there in 1956, and when she was driving him back from Mayher Mount to L.A., she said, you know, Baba, some people just don't like me. You know, she's, you know, and there were people that didn't like her so much. But Baba said, but I like you. So that shoots that. So, hey, what a neat thing. You know, I mean, that meant a lot to her. But the other thing that I found was interesting, when they got to LA, she got in an altercation with Ivy Deuce, who was the head of the Sufism Reoriented. And later on, when she was with Baba, she said, Baba, and now, even though she was bristly and everything, she would give someone the shirt off her back. She had a heart of gold. But anyway, so she was with Baba, and she said, Baba, there's some people I just don't like. What are you going to, no, and you say, no, she said, you say we should love everybody. Well, there's some people I just don't like. What are you going to do about that? She challenges Baba. What are you going to do about that? And Baba gestured, you may not, he said, you love everyone, you just don't like everyone. And she said, I can live with that. So now, sometimes you can love everybody, you may not know it, but you really love everybody. You would do anything to help them, you know, but you may not like your sanskars may react to their sanskars, so to speak. But that's just at a sanskaric level. You can love somebody even though your sanskars are disharmonious with them. And that's important, because what people do is they say, oh, well, I don't like my sanskars rub up against that person, I don't like them. And they say, I don't love them. But they're just reading their sanskars. They're not looking to, do I actually love this person? Would I, if they got in an accident, would I try to get them to the hospital? You know, would I, if they needed some help in the night, would I get in my car and go and help them? You'd be surprised to know that you have that kind of love, even though sanskarically you don't harmonize with them. You know what I mean? It's so Baba was saying, you know, you love everybody, you just don't like everybody. It's a very valuable distinction. Because Baba said, one of my favorite quotes of Baba's where he said, all differences between one another are merely superficial. All differences, male, female, you know, black, white, Indian, American, all differences between one another are merely superficial and cannot affect the love we feel for each other deep down. So we already love each other. It's not like love grows. Love is there, you know, but we let the superficial hoodwink us into thinking that we don't. Yeah.
It's easier to see that when you like, for example, some people in my life, when I've seen them and immediately I feel a sense of urgent repulsion. I really just do not want to see them or talk to them, and they give me a sense of fear or anxiety or something, and I'm like, this is uncalled. I just am meeting this person, like, I don't know anything about them, and I feel like this dislike, like this is not you know, I don't know, you could see through the illusion of that, like, oh, that's, I mean, I still feel the way that way towards them. I actually can't stop. It feels very strong. It's a very strong force.
Yeah. But if you think of that as just a phenomenon of your sanskaras hitting their sanskaras, and you know, and I mean, of course, your sanskaras may say keep a distance from that person, and there may be a reason to. They may be a little bit dangerous too, you know.
Sure.
But what I mean is that at the same time, you don't buy into the reading that you get from your sanskaras, because, like, you know, someone that you had a repulsion to when you first met them, 3 months later, they could be your best friend. So that's how arbitrary the sanskaras are.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just you just can't. You ask somebody how you doing, and what they do is they give a reading of their sanskaras. How are you doing? Well, I feel love. How are your sanskaras? Well, my sanskaras are kind of depressed. I mean,
Yeah.
they're two different things, and your sanskaras are not going to stay, you know, in springtime all the time. You know.
So Jeff, like there's some people, like, you know, you said I avoid meeting, you know, like I don't want to meet that person for whatever X, Y, Z reason and all. But there are times I have to go and meet them, and like I prepare myself and then go meet them. And when I'm there with them, I don't get affected. I say, oh, I mean, when I start talking with them, I say, oh, it's not so bad. But again, when I come out again, I feel, oh, let it be, you know, like I keep a distance and all. But when I'm actually with them, I just don't feel anything. You know, I just feel that, I mean, there's just love. I mean, like you said, now there must be just love flowing over there. So it's not that bad, like the interpretation, you know, the judgment I had before going meeting them, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to be careful when when you do a reading of your sanskaras.
Yeah.
Don't necessarily want to believe them.
Yeah. So like I just try and like leave that apart and just go meet the person because I have to. and see, okay, now what's next? Let's just go experience whatever happens. And it's a whole different new experience.
Yeah. Yeah. And to be able to see, I think it's valuable to see the difference between those things so that you're not being jerked around by your sanskaric, whatever your sanskaras tell you.
And the past experience, including past
Even
experience.
the past.
I say just leave the past behind and let's go ahead and see what's there again. Yeah.
Ideally, if you can start anew and not let your sanskaras from the past tyrannize over your response to them in the present. But that's not easy. But if you can tune into the love, then you don't have to don't tune into the past you've had with somebody, because then it's I mean a negative past, because then you're just perpetuating it. But hey, I love this person even though my sanskaras don't like them. I mean, it's kind of crazy, but
That's so beautiful. Yeah, but it's so beautiful.
yeah, don't believe your sanskaras.
Yeah.
You know, I used to tell clients I had that, like, when they were talking about feeling very depressed or very, suicidal, I would kind of look at them in the eyes, and it was something that had come to me when I had kind of made it through my own period of very intense depression. And I looked at them and I said, it's only a part of you that wants to die. It's not all of you that wants to die. It's just a part of you that needs to die off in order for something to come. But it's not all of you that wants to die.
Yeah.
And some reason that phrasing, now when you're saying this now, I'm like, oh, I was talking about the sanskaras, like their sanskaric part of them wanted to, hurt themselves or hurt other people, or was very depressed and had the story.
Yeah, that's a good line. I'll have to remember that. Really. No, I mean, because that's what it is. They're just taking one little bunch of sanskaras and they're making a decision that they're going to take their life when they have all these other things that just happen to be dormant right now, and these things have come to the fore, and then you're just going to act from those. And yeah.
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 Well, I think that's a good topic to talk about.
Yeah, I'll see. I'll see if Dinku can lead the charge.
Oh, why me?
No, I don't know. I'm thinking about it. I mean, because
That's
these
a good topic.
the things that I mean, a lot of our happiness and our wholeness and completeness is affected by our relationship, how we relate to others. If we're not doing successfully in relating to others, it brings us down.
But sometimes, Jeff, people can't accept the truth, and they sort of want to. How should I put it? They just feel that our truth doesn't gel with theirs, or their truth doesn't gel with yours, and that kind of leads to a lot of disagreements and stuff. So, I generally sort of tend to let it go.
Yeah. Yeah, like I have some neighbors who are politically way off on the other extreme from me. But I don't go there. I meet that. I mean, I find the heart level that works between us. But if I ever bring that subject up, I could lose them as a friend. I could lose them as a warm neighbor. So the truth, I'm not telling them that truth about me, because it'll just it'll create unnecessary disharmony. Uh-oh, I got a call coming in. I gotta go, folks.
Okay. Good
Yeah.
night. Jai
Yeah.
Baba.
Hey,
Yeah.
Baba.
Good night. I'll see you in the morning.
Jai Baba.
Yeah.
Jai
Hey,
Baba.
Baba Rosalie.
Jai Baba.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi, good to see you.
Bye.
Yeah, it's some good.
Jai Baba.
I learned a lot. Yeah. I
Oh,
think
good.
that's a great topic. And
Yeah,
I
well-
have to tell you my story with Agnes.
Oh, yeah.
I went to see her with Portia, Mayor G's sister-in-law. And I was afraid she couldn't stand Phyllis Frederick. And I just love Phyllis. So I thought, I'm just not going to listen to that. But I want to meet her because she met Baba. So we're sitting there and she says, people in Los Angeles don't know what service is. And I says, well, Agnes, sometimes service can be getting out of the bed in the morning on the right side. And she said, like fiery, she says, will you shut up? and then my mouth dropped open. I was so shocked. And then she was very fiery. Yeah. And then she says, oh, now you're going to pout. Because I was like, ooh. And then she stormed out of the room like a wildfire. And then we happened to, and then Portia was so cute. She says, don't upset her. She's too old to change. She's too old. So we went to lunch with her, and after in the parking lot, she says, she says, you can come and visit me. And she was fine. Yeah. But I never talked about Phyllis. Yeah. I never brought Phyllis up because that's so true. And I've got neighbors that have a big flag out of you know who, and I went, oh my Lord. Yeah, yep. Anyway, it's very helpful for me. Many stories. I love it. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Hey, well, see you, Shraddha, and very wonderful to see you, and Ninku, Marge, if she's there, and Rakesh. So anyway, I better go. I got to get up at 7. Well, I'll get up earlier than that, but I got to definitely be at this computer at 7 a.m. Yeah. See you guys.
See ya.
Hey, Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai
See you in the
Baba.
morning.
Jai
Baba.
Baba.
Rakesh, are you co-host?
I think so. Yeah. No.
Oh, okay. Let me close the recording.
So the meeting tomorrow at 7 is through the Circle of Friends?